Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bailey.
Here.
Commissioner Bunting. Here. Commissioner Gay.
Here.
Commissioner Sapsy.
Here.
Commissioner Owens.
Here. George would get you to pray for us again.
Please. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day that you've given to us. And we just praise and thank you for all things. Ask for continued prayer for our servicemen and women overseas and at home. Also our first responders, Father, for their safety. We ask that you also watch out for our farming community, keep them safe, and we're praying for a bountiful harvest. We ask, Father, you be with us tonight through this meeting, that we would do the things that would be best for the folks of Gratiot County. For it's in the name we pray, amen.
Amen. Join us for the pledge. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do you have any additions or deletions?
Yes, we do need to remove M. The attorney was not able, that will be moved to the meeting.
Okay. When the agenda is presented.
Moved by George, supported by Tim, to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Brief public comment. Okay. Consideration of the consent calendar.
For the consent calendar. Presented.
Moved by George, supported by Steve, to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion nay, motion carried. Administrators report.
Well, very briefly, I did attend the Central Dispatch Authority meeting, which failed to gather a quorum, but there was a discussion about current issues there at the dispatch. Last week, we met with 7 departments to review their budget requests. I'm gonna have 6 more tomorrow and been working in earnest on some revenue projections and such. Specifically in the revenue, we were taking a good look at the taxable values in a forecast or a projection for the county. And some special focus on the personal property, i.e. wind energy, solar impacts and things. So I guess the next meeting, we would plan to have a preliminary or discussion on a preliminary general fund budget. We'll have a discussion on that forecast and just to try to help the board understand their taxable situation now, and the tax revenue is a major revenue source, so where that might be heading in the future, et cetera. So with that, the rest of the time spent time on some of the issues that are here on the agenda, so that will conclude my report.
Okay, Steve, do you have any new reports?
Last night I was at Parrington meeting. People aren't aware, Parrington had their annual car show on Sunday. Unfortunately, there was a tragic accident during their burnout. They do a burnout competition and something went horribly wrong, and one of the drivers was subsequently died in a car crash at that. So they are looking at, things on the future as they go forward with that event. Let's see. Ashley on the 31st at their planning commission had a contractor and investment day. I attended that. There was a number of people, literally there was 2 full tables full of people that I didn't know, and I've lived there my whole life. So that were all investors from, I don't know where all they were from, but they all participated. They went on I don't know if you were around town. Did they go by your place? I don't know. Anyhow, they took them around in golf carts, and they had a old Farmall Model A that was all dollied up, and one of the local farms here from Ithaca donated a couple of, Hirschman's donated a couple of people mover trailers. And they took them on a tour of all the proposed sites. So it was really, Greater Gratiot was there. People from the Michigan Housing Commission. It was a really well-done event. They grilled hamburgers and hot dogs for people, and it was a really neat event. So hopefully that will pan out for them. Our last meeting was 15th, so and Health Commission, George and I were at the Health Commission on Wednesday, the 23rd. Really, it was a fairly quick meeting. Not a whole lot going on this time of the year. The doctor was absent, so we didn't have she had another obligation that she had to be at, so that we didn't have a medical report. I know we usually tell you guys what they talked about, but there wasn't such a thing. It was over in Stanton this time, so it's back here in Gratiot County this month. So that's
Be St. John's.
or no, St. John's, you're right. So I got the month screwed up there.
We did our final budget approval.
Yes. Okay. On the 21st, I met here with Deandra and Ryan and Kyle O'Mara, the attorney that was working with our planning commission on the BES ordinance that we're going to talk about a little bit later. Because we've been so long, the 16th, right after our last meeting, we had Parks and Recreation meeting. Once again, Summer, John Rayburn, the director, wasn't able to be there. So it was a fairly quick meeting, but basically things are going status quo. They keep checking the water qualities at the parks. The toilets are all been redone there. If you haven't been out there to look at them, the toilets are very nice, and they do get a lot of compliments on them. But it seems like with this hot, humid summer, we've had a lot of people using our parks, which is what we want, is for people to use them. And then on the 17th, I went to Washington Township, and Washington Township they went through, they had a number of pieces of property that were they voted on to change them from agricultural to industrial along the 127 corridor between County Line and Wilson Road, owned by Mr. Patrick. Phil Patrick was there. So there's some changes going on there. They put a new person on their zoning board, voted for a new person to be on their zoning board. And I went on the 18th to the Conservation District meeting, only to be informed when I got there and walked in that they had it the day before, so I wasn't there. So that's my report.
And did you?
Yes, I have an MMR meeting coming up this Thursday, and I want to just kind of let you know that the MMR board used to have 7 people on it. We're down to 4. And mostly it's, you know, how every committee is, pretty soon you lose different people. Mike Bukowski was the big one who decided to retire. And so now we are going to be adding on. At one time, we did have the police force, and that kind of went to the wayside throughout the years. But now I've talked with our sheriff, and he is going to come to the first one, and he's also sending another. Marty, you're right behind him, is going to start coming to the MMR boards. Also, we are still short. We're looking for, usually someone from the hospital comes. They are horribly, horribly busy, so they have not been coming. And then we have to have a person at large. And there was Yvette Clark who called and said she would like to be on that board. And she plans on attending tomorrow also. So that will be a real good, interesting meeting. We'll kind of bring everybody up to date exactly what we do 8 times a year. And so then from there, I believe that's probably about it. The rest of the stuff it's not really that important. I've not been to the other meetings. They all come up this next week.
Yep. Well, and that's the same way with me. My meetings will be next week. I did go last Thursday with Jerry Ball and her assistant. We went down to downtown Detroit to an arbitration hearing for a lawyer and a freed settlement. And we didn't do too well, but they fed us lunch, so it was a wash. That's all I have. Tim?
So you did dishes.
I didn't go any place. My township's meetings are next week and
Yeah.
mental health meetings next.
George?
Well, due to my vacation and doing other things, the only report I would have had was my Board of Health, but we covered that with Steve, so I'm done.
Okay, consideration of new business. Acrisure Health Care for 2025 through 2026. I got John O'Connor down here, but
In just a second. So I just want to give a quick overview as a reminder. So you're going to see Acrisure up here. That's not a name that you really know. It's 44 North. We've been with them for a lot of years, but everything is now Acrisure. Just as a reminder, every year there is a healthcare committee, which is our unions, non-unions, elected officials and department heads get together and talk with Acrisure, our benefits administrator, to look at the best plans possible for the next year going forward. So John's going to give you a little bit of the history and explain kind of what we're going through. And then I did hand out a sheet. So we will go over this at the end as well. And then John's here if there's any questions. Okay.
thank you, Sheila.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me, and actually I want to commend the Healthcare Committee and Sheila for work over the years on really being engaged in the process of looking at health insurance every year, picking plans, challenging, going over information. It's a pretty big process. It takes a couple of months to do it. And everything from benchmarking other peer entities against, plan design and cost. So thank you, and thank you for the committee. It helps. And we've been doing that for years, which has been a good process. So does this change the slide?
It could be a clicker.
Right. So just a little bit of actually, that's
Hard to see.
so I want to do actually the slide. There it is. Great. Can you guys see that? You have it on the screen. So Blue Cross Blue Shield this year combined increases about 27%. So that's higher than we've seen in the last couple of years. And one of the big reasons for that is that when 4 years ago, we moved to a self-funded platform, level funded with ASR, and did that for a couple of years. And then we moved back to Blue Cross Blue Shield. And in doing that, Blue Cross was excited to have us back, gave us a very good rate. In fact, so good it was below market. So we took advantage of that for a couple of years. So and then the second year of Blue Cross Blue Shield, which was last year, we actually had a rate cut. And what that means is that they give us a rate, and then at the next renewal, they guarantee that the rates won't go up any more than that rate. And it was 8% roughly. So again, I still increased, but a fair increase. We did look at it. Every year we look at the market to see competitive and is there something else another carrier we can use or another concept. So with that though, when we looked at the rate cap and then we looked at the data that we had, it was evident that the data was showing higher than the rate cap. So if the rate cap wasn't in place, we should have got a higher increase. a much higher increase, but we didn't. So for 2 years, we were able to take advantage of the Blue Cross pricing. So this year, Blue Cross said, we need to get back up to market. They realized that, however they term it, is that their rates were below market. So that's part of the headwind that we're dealing with, is that 27% increase. Now, a couple factors built into that is we are doing an HRA as well as a pharmacy program, and that actually helped the renewal. It helped bring the increase down. So what I wanted to share with you though is some hard cap. I'm going to show you some numbers in a minute, but current year's rates support about a 2.124 budget, and that's hard cap. So the hard cap allowances, you times that by the enrollment in the plan, and that's really the county's budget if you choose hard cap for medical and RX. So it was about 2.1. This year, it's going to be about not the budget, but the spend is going to be about 2.6. But the county's budget is going to go up about about $40,000. So you guys were just below last year, the hard cap by about $37,000. And what that did was it caused the plan, the richest plan you have, $100 deductible, to have no cost share because you were below the hard cap. So that means that the employees didn't have a cost share in their plan. Now, traditionally, employees do have a cost share, driven by Public Act 152 and the hard caps. So this last year, though, because where the rates were at and the performance of the plan and the hard caps, it was below it, right? So now this year, as the hard caps only adjusted 0.2%, 0.2% adjustment. You can see from 2024, I'll use it single. So this is an allowance that Public Act 152 gives the county for a hard cap. So it was $7,700 roughly. And then in 2025, it's $7,718. So it actually went up about $16. Imagine that, because we're looking at a 27% increase, but the hard cap allowance only goes up 0.2%. So what that means is the employee's cost share is going up. But the county's budget is, it's going up, but it's not going up in relationship to the employee cost shares. So I think that's something to keep in mind as you think about employee morale. Well, higher cost shares is concerning, right? So just something to keep in mind. I did want to show you though, it kind of boomerangs. So in 2024, it adjusted about 4%. Still not enough for the inflation of healthcare in Michigan. But then in 2025, it adjusted 0.2. And then for 26, which is next year, because you guys are a 10-1 renewal. So the increase for the hard caps next year is about 2.9%. So next year, 10-1, if you guys choose to be hard cap, it will increase by about 2.9%. Now, the advantage of hard cap for the county is that you know how much you're going to pay for health insurance, medical and RX combined, HRA all combined. It's still an increase, but for budget purposes, you know it. So there is talk at the state level. There was some serious talk towards the end of last year, December, to revamp Public Act 152 and the hard caps and how they figure it out. Nothing came about. And I don't have a crystal ball, but I know it's a hot topic because of how the increases haven't kept up. They're lower than what happens in Michigan with health insurance. So there'll be discussions, I would imagine. But again, it won't affect you until next year in 26. Right, so you guys are 10-1 renewal versus 1-1 is when the hard caps adjust. Okay? Does that make sense so far? Slides here a little bit. So I did want to share that the committee, we looked at a bunch of different plan designs and cost structures and ideas on how to offer coverage to protect your employees. And what we landed on with the committee was offering 3 plans. You guys have had 3 plans in the past. It just so happened last year, because of the rates and the hard cap. There was only one plan that people enrolled in. We offered two because of contractual agreements. Everybody enrolled in your best plan, the $100 deductible, which is an amazing plan. You don't see it. It's, you know, I mean, good for the committee's hard work to try to figure out how to have that. So everybody enrolled in that plan. Now, if we look at it, and sheet will show you a comparison of monthly costs, share out of their employee cost share versus a bi-monthly payment. You have plan one, which is the high plan, we call it. It's a $100 deductible. It's a PPO. It's what you have right now. It'll be the same. If somebody wants that plan, they can have it. It'll just cost them more. Plan two is a $500 deductible, similar to the one that we've had in the past, except it's an HMO versus a PPO. HMO is it's BCN, Blue Care Network, is a sister company to Blue Cross Blue Shield, and it has an in-network benefit only, not an out-of-network benefit. So what that means is that if you go out of network, you have a much higher cost share when you use your health insurance. And there's no out-of-state coverage except for emergencies. So it's different that way, but we're running reports from Blue Cross Blue Shield to show the doctors that are in the PPO as well as the HMO, so people know when they choose, if they have a specialist they need to see and they're not in the HMO, they know that they're going to have to utilize the PPO plan. Typically in Michigan, the HMO network, every hospital's in network. It's the doctors that you have to make sure that are in network. Now, I will tell you, there's a large number of employees that don't have a PCP. So it's not an issue from a PPO to an HMO. And there's a large number that don't have specialists. So typically that's where we see offering a PPO and an HMO together. It's when you have a specialist, a chiropractor might not be in network, but those are all things that we'll educate about as well as help employees navigate and choose. And then thirdly, it was important. So this $500 plan is less out of pocket as well, from their paycheck, cost share, if you will. And then lastly is the low plan, we call it. And this is a very high deductible plan that's viewed more as like if something happens, they have coverage that won't send them into bankruptcy. So they have that coverage. And it's an HSA. So a benefit of an HSA is that people can put their payroll dollars aside in a bank account to save for medical expenses. Now, what was important for the committee was that this had no cost. So plan three is no cost share out of somebody's paycheck. So somebody could say, you know what, I don't use health insurance. I don't even take a prescription drug. I don't want to pay out of my paycheck for health insurance that I don't use. They can access this plan. And then if something does happen, whatever, a child or some type of emergency, they still have coverage and protection. There's just going to be a greater cost share when they do. Okay. So 3 plans, 2 that you've had in the past, and they do cost. And also just make a point of this is last year they didn't have a cost share. The year before they did have cost shares. And then it kind of ping ponged there for 3 or 4 years. But in the past, they've always had a cost share for their plans. And then when when we moved to ASR, there was no cost share. Then the next year there was cost share. Then last year, the plan we're in right now, there was no cost share. So it's kind of been going back and forth. So now it's back to cost shares that they have. And high plan is the most expensive, richest plan. The medium plan is lower cost share, a little less rich in the benefit, and then this plan is no cost share. Okay. Questions about that?
John, so when they went from ASR to Blue Cross, could you explain the run out?
Yeah. So, so when you go self-funded, there's a run-in period where you pay claims, and there's a lag when you start the plan. because imagine you go to the hospital on, your plan starts 10/1, you go to the hospital on 10/3, you have a procedure, that bill doesn't come due until about 30 or 45 days later. So that's called, so there's a lag, right? But then when you leave the plan, there's something called run out. And you have to make an accounting adjustment for the run out of those claims, because you still have to pay them. So on 9/28, somebody had a procedure, that bill's not gonna come in until after we left the plan, but you have to have run out protection. And so in last year, 2 years ago, we made an assumption on what we thought the run out of claims was gonna be. Rough numbers, it was gonna be about 240,000. We didn't spend that much. So then when we recasted the numbers, and this is a positive thing, recasted the numbers, it was like, let's just say half, if you will. So there was this 120,000, I can get the exact number for you, but of left claims that did not get spent. There was dollars set aside for claims and it didn't get spent. So it got driven back into the rates for the plan of this year. And that's what drove the cost below hard cap, which why people had no caution. Now, that's a lot of,
Well, I think it's important to note that, disclose that.
Absolutely.
so, in normal procedure, what we do, we look at the marketplace as well. And, see if there's another carrier that might have the coverage we need at a better rate, or even self-funding, because you guys have been self-funded over the years a couple different times. And that's one of the reasons why we entertained ASR, because when we looked at them and the proposal they gave us, it was too good not to try it. It wasn't a great experience. I think there was, maybe too much, the network, the name recognition, those type of things, just, they weren't there. But the committee, we vetted that out, and that's the diligence that they put in. It's like, hey, we need to try this, because financially, it makes sense. Same plan design. So we looked at Blue Cross Blue Shield, we looked at Blue Care Network. We asked Health Alliance Plan for a quote, which is Henry Ford Medical owns HAP. And they declined to quote because they were uncompetitive. From a price standpoint, as well as a network, they were concerned about a little bit. We looked at Priority Health, and they declined to quote as well due to being uncompetitive. We looked at Nomi Health and Angle, and those are two self-funded carriers. And both of those carriers weren't comfortable with the risk. Now, the claims aren't running terrible, not as bad as they were a couple of years ago, but there was still some concern about some ongoing claims that were in the plan that both those self-funded carriers had. So on Angle, the risk score was a little bit too high for them to be comfortable. And then Nomi, it was, again, they were concerned about the risk and being competitive from a price standpoint. So, threw a lot at you in about 5 minutes. So any questions for me that I can help with?
What's your projection for like 2026? We talked about, we're gonna be staring at another 27%.
Yeah, I wish I had a crystal ball. So care is not getting cheaper. You guys are doing, one of the biggest concerns right now for carriers is pharmacy and the cost of pharmacy and expensive drugs. And the program you guys have in place right now is addressing that. And it has been for a couple of years. And it actually helps. So continuing to do that, depending on what, Blue's priority, what they do, we'll be shopping the market again next year. We'll have to, just because it's the appropriate, it's a responsible thing to do. But I'm seeing some crazy renewals right now. For right now and for 1/1, we haven't started seeing the 1/1s yet, but we're seeing 12/1s, and it's not good. So that's not a projection, that's just information. Yeah.
It's just facts, what you're seeing.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, again, keep in mind, you guys probably saw it in the news that Blue Cross took a pretty big hit last year of over 600 million. And Priority Health had not as large, but they also had a financial hit. And some of it's driven by these GLP-1 drugs, and they didn't react fast enough on how they were going to manage it. So I think there is some catch up going on, and cost of claims. It's getting more expensive. So I don't think it's,
We gotta be thinking of these things as we move forward.
yeah. So what we do, we look at the claims and tracking the claims to get some feel of what within your group, where the claims are going and what's happening. Like we sent your data to our healthcare practice team, national healthcare practice team, and had them look at it and say, hey, of these 10 claims, for example, what ones are gonna happen ongoing and which ones are done? Like a knee replacement, big claim, done. Cancer, is it in remission or is it still going? And so they analyze that for us and give us that data to say, yes, no, and then, we can take that forward and look to see what other opportunities there are.
It's vitally important to me to make sure we are offering our employees the best healthcare we can.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the nice thing is, if there's a nice thing about the process, it's daunting because we're asking your employees to engage in a healthcare and looking at all these components, and that's not what they do for a living, right? So what's been helpful is that the committee, most of the people have been in the committee for a year or 2 or 3 years. So when we go to pick up where we left off, they remember with some review, like, oh, I remember that now. Yep. Oh, I remember that. It's really helpful, and they are super engaged. So, yes.
Okay, just recently, I've heard this on the news, and I'm not sure where we're standing with this, but this gentleman went to Europe and he had to buy his prescription. It was $88, and he said in the United States it was $1,300. Do you see something happening with this? Is this gonna make a difference?
I don't know exactly how and what it's going to look like.
It was the same company, the same thing, exactly the same thing. But if you go to Europe, you can get it for $88, and here,
So we source, we do for you guys too, we do source some prescriptions internationally. Now it has to be voluntary. It's not something we can say you have to do. It has to be a voluntary. But yeah, we do we fund the rest of the free world's prescriptions. Well, I mean, ours are way more expensive, and there has to be reform for that. We have to get some control of that. Yeah.
That would be on a national level though, not something
Yes.
we could do, right?
Yeah, well, so nationally, although when we engage in a pharmacy benefit manager on your behalf, these benefit managers manage they're across the nation. They have clients across the nation, so whatever comes down from the federal government to say, hey, Stellaire is not gonna cost $300,000 anymore. It's gonna be something less. I mean, we need them to put the pressure on the big pharma.
Sure.
And then the pharmacy benefit managers follow suit.
Get down.
Sure, thank you.
Oh, Sheila again.
I'm just gonna tell you what I did hand out. So I gave you the monthly numbers of what those three plans would be, and then also the per check. And I do want to just clarify on that. We get paid 26 times. In the new budgeting, we are actually going to go for health insurance. It's going to come out of 24 checks. So in a month like July, when there is a third paycheck, no benefits will come out of that. So that we'll get like 2 free checks a year. So, but this is what the per check cost would be for each of those plans. And then I did do little notes about each of the plans. So that $100 deductible plan, that is the one that everybody is on right now. So we do recognize when there's going to be a cost to some of this. people are going to really have to make the decision about what's best for their family. There might be those young people that aren't going to use our insurance. They're going to go with that HSA plan. Or there's going to be people that just can't afford that premium and they might go for the medium, the middle plan. So we really, that healthcare committee really wanted to make sure that there was something that would work for each family. As John said, that $500 deductible, that looks very similar to what we had in the past, even last year, except for it is that HMO and he is providing the information. All of our staff will have the ability to look and make sure that if they're going to go to that HMO, that it is actually covered under that plan. In that health savings account, like John mentioned, pre-tax dollars can go into that account. They can use that for medical, anything for the rest of their life, for as long as they have that bank account that is tied to them, that is not tied to us. So that can be used into the future for that HSA. John didn't really speak about it, but dental. We have Delta Dental currently that came in at a rate lock, so we'll be staying with Delta Dental. And IMED, same thing, rate lock. Our life insurance, short-term disability, long-term disability. So those are county paid benefits. That quote came back at a 5% increase. We are not willing to take that 5% increase on. So if Lincoln Financial isn't willing to meet their competitors, then we will move. And so that's what that kind of looks like. Any questions on kind of what you have in front of you, what the committee did, the work that was done as we move forward?
Skinny did a great job. I like the thought of having our staff involved in all these decisions, so it's very helpful. So I'm all for that
Okay.
committee.
Is somebody willing to make a motion to accept the
I'll make a
recommendation?
motion to approve it.
Second.
Moved by George, supported by Tim, to accept the plan that the healthcare committee come up with.
Okay,
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
so we'll start getting this stuff billed in September. We'll start having open enrollment meetings. We're going to do a lot of education so that people know the difference between that PPO and that HMO so that they're making the right decision.
Thank you, Sheila.
To that committee, that makes our decision a lot easier.
Next up. Department of Health and Services Annual Contracts, Lori Teal.
Your time.
Okay.
You don't need to be.
Good evening. My name is Lori Teal. I am from the Department of Health and Human Services. I am the Community Resource Coordinator and Contract Administrator for the department in Gratiot and Shiawassee counties. With me this evening is my Program Manager, Melanie Davis. She is the head of our Children's Programs unit. So if you have questions that I can't answer, she's here to do that for us. I have 2 contracts that I am requesting funds for again this year. The Advanced Impact and La Casa. I had sent those over for your perusal a couple weeks ago. La Casa is our parent mentor, which is a supervised visitation for our foster care children. Several years ago, we added to that contract the Direct Family Assistance Program, which families can use for 6 months that helps them learn parenting skills, childcare techniques, helps them monitor school attendance, home management skills, cleaning, budgeting, nutrition, finding and maintaining housing, all of those items. That is a $40,000 contract. Last year, we did not have a provider for that. This year, we have spent very minimal money in there. We just recently got a provider. She's active and up and running, doing really well with our families. So expect to see if we continue with that utilization of that contract. Do you have any questions about it?
So clarify,
Mm-hmm.
the contract is for $40,000
Correct,
and we gave that to you last year
correct,
and they didn't use it all.
correct.
So is it going to still be for the 40 or is it going to be what's left in there and with adding up to 40? You know what I'm saying?
For fiscal year 26, 10/1 through September 30, we would request $40,000. What we did not use this year will just not come from you.
Oh, we didn't-
That's a
so we
savings.
didn't- It wasn't a lump sum? Okay, gotcha. You just, we'll just as you requested.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I bill monthly.
In the general
For
fund.
$40,000, they're gonna use that, okay?
No, you have a surplus.
Some people call it a surplus.
Well, if you remember where you put it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Then I would make a motion that we would approve the contract for $40,000.
Moved by George, supported by Steve to approve the contract. The amount of $40,000. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay, the other contract is with Highfields, a company out of Lansing. And that is an advanced impact contract for $89,000. That is a face-to-face intervention. The worker actually goes to the people's homes who are currently being supervised by our Child Protective Services unit. They teach the parents a lot of the same things on a more intense basis: anger management, communication skills, parenting skills, budgeting, hygiene, health, housekeeping, organization, money, nutrition. That contract is always utilized almost 100%, because we have a great woman, Julie Culp, who does that for us. And I pulled a couple referral numbers in fiscal year 23. We had 30 referrals, and of those 30, 25 families utilized it. In 24, we had 25 referrals, and all but about 10 of those completed that program. And then this year to date, we've had 15 referrals with 14 of them working with them. So that is a great contract and very active. Do you have any questions on that contract?
I make another motion that we approve that contract for $89,000.
No, how am I gonna get away?
I'll make sure you get away.
Okay.
support.
Steve already did. Tim. Moved by George, supported by Steve to enter into the contract with Highfields for $89,000. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Ready for me to go?
Yes.
The next item was the opioid grant awards. After we made the general awards, it came to my attention that we need direct agreement with the agencies receiving the funds. Have a standard agreement. The Michigan Association of Counties was involved, et cetera. It did go through legal review. We're just asking for authorization to have those executed and start the programs.
I so move that we move forward and get these grants awarded, and so they can start utilizing them. Do you need listed out who were the agencies?
Yeah, just a suggested action.
Okay, agencies included the Gratiot Integrated Health, Child Advocacy, 10 Recovery Network, and Trauma and Addiction Solutions.
Moved by Steve, supported by Tim, to move to authorize the execution of agreements with the Gratiot Integrated Health, Child Advocacy, 10 Recovery Network, and Trauma and Addiction Solutions. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay.
Next up, Spicer Group.
The jail renovation feasibility study. I must have been a slow news day. I seen this was on the front page of the Morning Sun today. But nonetheless, I know that's been a goal for the county for many years now, is to take a thorough look at the jail and try to make some improvements over there that are needed. As noted, we met with Spicer, several different individuals. They provided this proposal. I would note one thing for certain, getting a large project off the ground can take some time, but the study will identify some immediate things that I think our staff or, they can do small contracts for lighting or painting of certain offices. We certainly want to engage in that and have to take it out when a more major project starts, but So there was some thought and consideration given to it, and we would suggest that the county move forward with that.
I so move that we approve the up not to exceed amount of $11,000 for the feasibility study and report on the Gratiot County Jail.
I'll second it.
Moved by Steve, supported by Jan to authorize a contract with the Spicer Group up to $11,000 to study the jail. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Yep, battery energy storage systems.
Well, no.
No, okay.
I think it was noted earlier by, I guess I will in a moment, but by Commissioner Sopsey that, the planning commission recommendation, there was input from the board and the planning commission took another look at it. We took all those concerns and voices and asked the attorney to take those into considerations and draft a different proposal. That's been completed. He is available at the next meeting if you would like to have him come in and answer some direct questions, or you're free to do whatever you like with it.
What's the board's pleasure?
Does anybody have questions on it?
No.
And if everybody's read it, I mean, and everybody's good with it. I'm good with the way it's worded currently right now. I don't want to speak for everybody.
Oh,
So,
you've done a lot of work on it,
Yeah.
Steve, and I appreciate your due diligence on that. And I think the planning commission did good
mhm.
by having public meetings, narrowed that focus down quite a bit. And we're able to pinpoint some areas of concern. I believe that this ordinance influenced those areas of concern. And knowing full well that if we didn't do our due diligence and take care of it, the state would have. So I'm comfortable with going ahead with the vote on this.
Okay, so we should have a motion to approve
I so move, we approve the,
this ordinance.
yeah, battery energy storage systems zoning ordinance as it was presented at this meeting.
Moved by Steve, supported by George to approve the best ordinance. That should be roll call probably.
Sorry, I don't have my paper. Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Sopsey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens.
Yes. Okay. Next up, annual child care fund.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. I'm here this evening asking for approval of the annual child care fund that I bring to you every year. These are the service in the contracts that are included within that budget. I gave you just the top page and I referenced the contract on the memo that I provided. They're all renewal contracts from prior years. This allows the county to receive the reimbursement, 75% for in-home care services and 50% for any out-of-home care services for delinquent and neglect youth that are being that are part of the county services. So I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Which item is this on our agenda?
Number 6.
J6.
Set it up. I don't
It's
know.
J6.
Oh, on the back of my.
You didn't look on the back. then, I don't hear anybody asking any questions, so I would ask that we go ahead and approve those contracts.
Second.
By George, supported by Tim, to to pay the annual child care fund budget. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Planning Commission. Basically, what we need is approval to have Greater Gratiot send this out to the individual townships and cities. And this is a draft that people will go out to people and they can change it.
Right. As Mr. Sopsey noted, there's quite a few,
Typos and things.
things like that, and I'm sure that they will be addressed. But I would go ahead and make a motion that we make approval of the draft to be sent back to the parties involved.
Support.
Moved by George, supported by Steve, for the approval to have the Greater Gratiot send this I'm having a blank here.
To the entity.
Greater Gratiot Master Plan.
The master plan sent out to the neighboring units of government on behalf of Gratiot County. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
For the record, I want corn oats out of there. Either that or I want somebody to show me what they are.
All right, next up, consideration to appoint a mid-state health network substance disorder oversight policy board. Got one person applied for one position.
Yep, and Emily already does have that.
She's an incumbent for this position.
Okay,
I so move that we reappoint Emily Rayburn to the position of Community Mental Health Services Substance Use Disorder Oversight Board.
I'll second.
moved by Steve, supported by Jan for what Steve said.
The three-year term also.
Your term. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Step appointment for zoning board of appeals.
Planning commission.
Planning commission.
Planning Commission.
She had applied for the zoning board of appeals.
This is to be on the Planning Commission,
Right.
the opening.
Because we had an opening that came open.
I so move that we appoint Alyssa Chaffin to the Planning Commission for this is for the remainder of the term.
Moved by Steve, supported by Tim, to appoint Melissa Chaffin to the planning commission for the
Ends December 31st, 27. So.
the rest of the term. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Any more unfinished business?
Want to adjourn? You gotta have a comment, don't you?
Yep, I do.
Is there any more public comment?
We had the, just call your attention,
We're going to closed session.
No, that's good. I'm taking off the.
No, we still have one.
We'll have one.
Yeah, we took,
And we took M off, but not N.
Oh,
sorry.
all right. I misconstrued that.
Go. Motion to adjourn and go into closed session.
Just adjourn.
So George moved, Tim seconded the motion to adjourn to go into closed
Not
section.
my group.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.